Also, before I get into this video, just like thank Stonemountain64 for the Battlefield 1 gameplay. He's one of the bigger Battlefield 1 YouTubers and was the host of the Battlefield Squads event, so if you go and check out his channel, linked down below in the description. Hey guys, it's Jenny from LazerGaming. This video, I have a collaboration video with Cheesy Gaming where we talk about Battlefield 1's realism versus their developer creativity and why it's kind of good that Battlefield 1 isn't a completely realistic game like Verdun and other World War 1 and Arma, other realistic shooters. Don't forget to check out his channel, link down below in the description. He's helped me out a lot in the past and I've helped him out and done a bunch of collaboration videos, so if you aren't subscribed to him already, don't forget to go and subscribe to his channel and subscribe to mine if you are new here. But sit back, relax, and enjoy the discussion.
So Battlefield, it isn't really, like, when you compare it to games like Arma or something, it isn't really a realistic game. If you're being generous, you could call it, I guess, a middle sim, but it really isn't. It's its own breed of game, kind of.
Yeah, like, I don't think it tries to be realistic because those hardcore military sim shooters don't really cater towards the general public. And I think especially with Battlefield 1, while they're trying to go back to the past, I think they more did that to bring in a wider audience who's sort of fed up with games that are going to the future, mostly Call of Duty. But I don't think they went back to World War 1 to make it a realistic shooter. I don't know why everyone all of a sudden, just because they went back to World War 1, wants it to be a realistic shooter necessarily, because Battlefield 4, Battlefield 3, Battlefield Hardline weren't very realistic, but people never... I mean, people sometimes critiqued it a little bit, but it wasn't really a big thing. But now it seems to be a big thing simply because it's going back to World War 1. And I think you have some stuff about Verdun and other games that are trying to be like it, and I think those are really realistic rather than Battlefield. I don't think Battlefield tries to compete with those games necessarily.
Yeah, because, like, they have their own market, those games. Like, in the background of this video, I have some Verdun gameplay in case you guys don't know it. And so, you probably won't be able to tell just through the gameplay because I've showed, like, the best stuff, kind of. But it's a really slow-paced game. You can go through, like, a half-hour game and get like 2 kills and you'll see the enemy like 3 times, and like it's still fun, Verdun, but it's trying to be you know, as true to life as World War 1 was. And then and Battlefield 1, like, it's not even getting close to World War 1 realism. Like, I'm pretty sure a historian tweeted out that Battlefield 1 looked like sci-fi compared to what World War 1 really was. So in terms of realism, it's not really going for that, but it's going for what, you know, the market wants and stuff, and it's going for having fun, because, you know, in games like Squad, and, well, Squad's a bit better, but Arma at least there's like 8 crouch stances, and it's ridiculous. And so, while I enjoy some simulator games, but they have their own audience, so, and Battlefield just isn't really like that.
Yeah, I just think that Battlefield 1 doesn't really want to be realistic because for developers specifically, they can't really be as creative when it's realistic, and I think that if they were held to those restrictions, they wouldn't have wanted to go back to a World War 1 setting, because they'd rather just... I think that's why a lot of developers want to go to the future, because it gives them a lot more creativity, because they can do whatever they want with the game. I think if Battlefield 1 was held to, like, realistic standards, the developers wouldn't have been able to be nearly as creative as they have been with the game. They wouldn't have really wanted to make the game, because it seems like developers really want to make the game and are excited about making it, but that's just because they get to put a bunch of weapons that they want to put into it. Even if it's not necessarily realistic, they can still use SMGs and LMGs, and while they were used in the war, they weren't used to the extent that they're going to be used in Battlefield 1 every single game. But I'm fine with that, just because the main reason why I wanted a game in the past, I didn't really care if it was World War 1, World War 2, or Vietnam. I just wanted it because it would get rid of the annoying stuff like UCAVs, lock-on stuff, and because we've been modern and future for the past few games, it'd just be interesting to go back to the past. I didn't really care what setting it was, I just wanted it because it would get rid of a lot of the BS that the games now have, and a lot of the stuff that people have complained about.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention this earlier, but when I got on Verdun last night, there was like there weren't even 100 players online. And so while there is an audience for simulators, like Arma and Squad still gets a lot of players, and there's other ones like Insurgency too, but Verdun, especially because it was a World War One setting and it was all trench warfare, uh, while in my opinion it's fun to play, it really is not that appealing to the general audience. And so, as evident with like 30 people online in one match, so I really think that DICE is making a good choice making it unrealistic, or well, yeah, unrealistic. And I think that, you know, as we've said, if they made it realistic, it would not be Battlefield. It just simply would be Battlefield.
Yeah, ultimately they're just trying to make a good game rather than being true to the World War One setting. And while some World War One critics will get mad about it, and some people might complain about it, like I've had friends who have, like, they've said the weirdest things, like who aren't necessarily into Battlefield. They'll be like, "Oh, I don't think there'll be enough content because it's World War One." And then I'll say, "Yeah, but they're putting in a bunch of weapons that were prototypes and stuff." And then they'll say, "Yeah, but I want it to be realistic." It's like you can't have both, and I think that DICE took the better route with going with the unrealistic and still keeping the setting, like keeping a lot of the good stuff in the setting, but also bringing in a lot of the interesting prototypes that most people haven't seen from World War One. And I just think that it's going to be a great game simply because the developers do have creativity over the setting.
Yeah, that simply put, that's it.